गूगल आएगा और फेसबुक आएगा, हमको हायर करके लेके जाएगा. लेकिन रियलिटी है कि कॉलेज के बाद लेफ्ट मारोगे तब पता चलेगा that what is the when you take a left turn that you realize what is the actual thing, right?
The less option you have, the more like grit you will have and more consistent you will be. If you want to find a right partner, no, just try to find the sense of humor. Try to find a joke where you laugh, both of them, you laugh on the same joke. So if you laugh on the same joke, then you are a good friend. So that's what it started to happen. After creating that 17 video, I want to hats off all the YouTubers who are creating videos day in and day out, because it takes a hell lot of time to create something and edit it and then publish it and do this on a regular basis compared to writing.
Hello everyone, welcome to the another episode of TACOS, where we will be talking about open source and community, one of the smartest mind from the open source ecosystem. So today we have Rashid, who is a Google developer expert in Flutter and Dart, a prolific Medium author with over millions of views, a GitHub star with 5.6k plus followers. From jobless to tech leadership on his own Flutter classes, Burhan has journey in a testament to the power of passion and self-learning. So join me here today to explore such more amazing things that he did in his life, right? To get more inspired, more people around. So welcome again, Rashid, to TACOS.
Thank you, Mehul. Thank you for the wonderful intro. It's been a long time I have heard this intro. So yeah, thank you.
Feel free to add if I miss anything. And the one thing I just found out that we have also one common connection, that Gujarat is the common connection between us now.
Yeah. મજામાં.
બસ એટલે the people came show means how are you? Whenever people from to meet and there is a Gujarat connection, so we generally greet like this, right?
Mm-hmm. And Majama is like awesome.
Yes, Majama is awesome, and they all Gujarati people always are awesome. They always are Mojma or the right, because there's a good different vibe in the Gujarat that we already talked that a lot. But to be very honest, I haven't met you in person, but I have been following from a long time, because as I told you, I was from one blog, essential things that you do, to build your career, boost your career in the open source project. That inspired me a lot, because you mentioned a couple of things that I could able to relate, because there's so relatable content, right? And I picked up a couple of things from there, and I try to implement in my open source journey as well, and that helped me a lot, right? So have you ever, because it was very old post, and even I'm not sure that you remember that post or remember that blog. So what made you at that time to write that blog post? Because that inspired me for sure. I'm sure that inspired so many millions of people, right? So yes.
Yeah, so basically, like I graduated around 2014, and then I started looking for a job, and that's where the reality hits that I don't have enough skill set to get the job. So I looked for a job for around a year. So like when I was in a college, I thought in the placement that I'm so intelligent and so smart that Google and Facebook will come to my college and they will say, you are the guy, I want you into my company. And then I realized that no, like you need to have a lot of skill set in order to get a job. So that whole one period of time teaches me a lot of things that I didn't do and I should have done in college. But then it was a point where I started like learning my things my own, and then I started Android development. And then one of my friend was working in a company who referred me to that company, and that's where I started my mobile development journey. And so this was the way I started in open source is very funny. Because I work in a company for a 2 year, and then what happened was that like, okay, let's switch a job and try to look for another company. And what I was doing is when I was this was my first time I was switching companies. It was like I started to see a pattern. Whenever I used to go into a company, they asked me to build a project, and that project have some basic structure, like you need to call an API, and then you have to show the list and all that kind of stuff. So I gave a 1, 2 interview and 3 interview, and then I got timeout and I didn't able to finish the project. And I thought that why I'm wasting so much time, and this is the same stuff happening in all the companies where I'm looking for a job. So I thought, let me put the code somewhere, and when I go for the interview, I'll just pull that basic code base where 80% of stuff is there, and I'll just put the API stuff. So at that time, I created a repository in a GitHub, which was having like Android MVP architecture structure with RX Java. So it was like 70% of things already built in that project, and you have to just plug in the requirement if you have any in your in the company where you are interviewing. So that saved me like a lot of time. So I like got selected in one company, so they gave me a 3 hour of time to complete the project, and I did it in 20 minutes because I just pulled the repository from the GitHub, which I have already built. So that's where and that got like around like 5 to 6 stars around that repository. I didn't do any marketing or any kind of a stuff. I just wanted to, like, I was using as a Google Drive kind of a thing. So that got me interested in that, why people are liking it and what is this thing behind it. And then I started exploring that, who liked me, who star my GitHub repository. I went there repository, and then I saw that there are a lot of things happening there. And this is where I encountered with open source and all those things, that okay, this is how the all open source project and all those things work. And that's the day I realized that I want to do something related to this. So that's where my whole open source journey started. And yeah.
To be very honest, you said ki, once you are in the college and you always have a कि यार गूगल आएगा और फेसबुक आएगा, हमको हायर करके लेके जाएगा. लेकिन रियलिटी ऐसा है कि कॉलेज के बाद लेफ्ट मारोगे तब पता चलेगा that what is the, when you take a left turn, that you realize what is the actual thing, right? Similar thing happened. I was graduate from the college where it should be the last option when anyone wants to go into that college, right? Because no campus come, no. So I got to know कि जो भी करना है अभी खुद ही करना है, right? So you don't have option, you start building things by your own. Same when you build that project, I would realize that you just try to make your stuff very easy so that you can save your time. So ultimately, when you save your time, ultimately save that times to the other people whom you are working for, right? So I think that mindset is very much missing at this, in particular, because now when people look at you, they all see you have a 5,000 stars, or let's say 1 million views. If they just think about, okay, let's try to solve the problem which can help me. Like, help yourself first. If you help yourself, they'll ultimately help a lot of people, right? And हम बोलते हैं ना कि जो हमको काम बोरिंग लगता है उसको easy कर दो, right? So that ultimately you work for to save your time, and that time saving will ultimately help not just for your users or team, but ultimately the whole company or the whole community as well, right? So what do you want to say on that?
Yeah, so like you bring up a very good point, which is basically kind of my own philosophy kind of a thing, that the less option you have, the more like grit you will have and more consistent you will be. So like if you have more option, know that okay, I have 10 colleges to choose from, then you will go around here and there and like चलो है अपने पास आराम से करेंगे and all those things. And same goes with the financial situation as well. When you have a lot of backup and all those things, you are very comfortable. But if you don't have that stuff, you don't have any options, and then you don't have much to think, then you put all your in to just make it things work. And that's where like I didn't have any portfolio or any kind of a thing to like so that I can get a job very easily, or I can switch job very easily. So that's where I put everything like in a one place, like the code base for the interview, and I was trying to think different way to just crack the interview somehow. So that is the thing. And like since I was a jobless for a year there, so that also had impacted me to come with a solution which are like quick and I mean like very easy to implement, or people who have not thought about it for a long period of time. So yeah, so that is something I.
Yeah, of course, of course. But by when you mentioned that you were almost a year you didn't have a job, right? And at that
Yeah,
time, people starting freak out and just try to do so many different things to just
yeah,
write the opportunity. At that time, just calmness and to keep your motivated self motivation, because
yeah,
for me I cannot motivate others because motivation is
yeah,
temporary. Motivation can
yeah,
take you a long way, right?
yeah,
So
yeah, yeah,
what are the things that you did that during the year? You said you build your portfolio, but just for yourself to showcase,
yeah,
right? But
yeah,
apart
yeah,
from that, what are the things that you did? Because year long, when you don't have a job, you don't do any freelance work, and as you said,
yeah,
right after
yeah,
college, no company came in to pick you up, right? So, what's your
yeah.
thought process? What's your motivation to passing to that phase and
Hmm.
passing through these things, and now you become a Google developer expert. So, if you could explain from that this journey.
Yeah. So initially, when I didn't like had a job, I thought it's a chill. Like, okay, I will get a job in a month or two. And then what happened was like my dad was living in Kuwait, so he told me that come to Kuwait and try there for a job at least first there, because
Okay.
like there is a saying in our community that there is a Kuwaiti dinar which has the highest currency value in the world.
Yes.
So like
Yes.
it's like you can earn a lot of money there. So I went there for around 3 months, and that was the point I realized that something is missing in myself. Like why everyone is rejecting like I should be getting the job, right? Because like when you like go from 10th 12th and engineering, right, I was most of the time I was in a top 3 in the class. So usually I was assumed that okay, I will get it like somehow because I am in top 3. But I was just top 3 in 20 or 25 student. There are billion of people in the world where like you
Right.
are not even in like top 3 or something like that. So that
Right.
was the point, and that's where one important thing, like apart from the community, is that that phase itself. This would be more kind of a personal thing, but the family support was really essential at that time. Because what happened after I talked with a lot of people, like most of the people I met, which asked for guidance for me now, they are in a lot of pressure from the family and all, like a lot of pressure to work on to get the financials or get the money just as fast as much possible. So that's why some people don't able to get uh, the decision on what they want to do. So they go from a money oriented perspective. So I was very fortunate enough that my family supported me at that time, that take your time and find what you want to do. And one of my friend was working, as I said, in Ahmedabad. So he told me that what are you doing with your life? Like you are just sitting home and doing nothing. Just watch this course on YouTube for Android development and learn something at least. So I started around learning on my own in a 2 month scenario, and then he referred me to a job, and then that's where I got a job. And I have a little tendency of like मेरे को हर चीज में घुसना है, like I want to see like try everything.
तब कर
So
लेगा
the
मैं.
हाँ, like मैं सलमान खान है, like प्रोड्यूसर राइटर सिंगर सब कुछ में ही है. So like I went into my first company. So this is where I started to have introduction with the community and open source and all those stuff. So I went to the first company, and there was my senior person who used to have a lot of good reputation on Stack Overflow. So he has a lot of points and all that stuff. So I thought, how did you manage to do it? Like, so he told me that this is how I answer the question and all those things. And that's where I started to involve in Stack Overflow, and then started to learn that how I should able to help the people, because I was also getting answer from Stack Overflow. So I thought, why can't I give answer like to the community back? So this is where something come to giving the community back what I have learned. And this was the first point. And then this was the Stack Overflow time. I spent 2 years on that. So that's where I start learning how to understand question, how to answer them, how to structure your answer so people can understand and all that stuff. And then, as I mentioned, that when I was after 2 years, when I tried to switch the company, I came across the GitHub thing. And when I switched to a company, there was a guy who was already working on open source and that stuff. So that connects that okay, I am interested in this, and this is also working in that open source projects and all that stuff. So I asked him what he do and how does he market his project and all that stuff. So, and then one thing led to another, Stack Overflow, GitHub, and then I started exploring other tech framework, which I started working on Flutter at that time. I started my career as a native Android developer, and then I started exploring Flutter. And that's where I realized that, okay, like there are some concept in Android, but it's different in Flutter. So how does I map those concept Android into Flutter? So I thought of writing a blog post around it, that Flutter for Android developer. And then I wrote a 3-part series around how I'm able to, like, you can grasp those concepts to Flutter. And before that, I also wrote few blog posts, but if I read that blog post today, I can't even understand what I wrote at that time. It's that bad. Like, I thought, who wrote this thing? And then those 3 blog posts got attention, and because of that, I started to get involved in a Flutter community, and then I started to have talks around it, and that's where Google recognized that all community contribution, and then I went through that GDE Flutter process. So, and then I become a GDE. So I told that whole journey in like 10 minutes, but it took me around 5 years of working with 1 year of joblessness. So
Right.
yeah, so that's the whole time.
To be very, as I told you that people cannot relate, because success is like, it attracts, right? It's like,
Yeah.
it's like a passionate world. People see that as a, passionate world. But the process, as you just mentioned, the process in 10 minutes, but it took you like 5 years, a long journey. You should be very patientful. And a lot of people might be in this journey, your friends, your community people as well, a lot of folks who back to where you went to them. But I would much say, friends always give the reality check, right? So so is that friend from Gujarat?
Yeah. So he's still working there. Yeah.
Okay, so you can just mention his name, and you can just, because it's all about
so like we were school friends. So like his name is like Mohammed Gadi basically. So he suggested me to learn Android development. So funny thing is that like till the 10th class, we used to be enemy like to each other, like because we didn't like each other at all. It was something like that if I am coming to this event or this place, he won't be coming, and if he is coming, then I won't be coming, because we were like a repelling force. We don't like each other at all. And then when we kind of a thing. And then when we got into 11th class, we both took math science, and then we have to stay at one place. And then we realized that like the both opposite things are very good to each other, and we find funny each other all the time. And that's like that's basically a saying that like, if you want to find a right partner, just try to find a sense of humor, try to find a joke where you laugh, both of them, you laugh on the same joke. So if you laugh on the same joke, then you are a good friend. So that's what it started to happen.
Right. And एक को गुस्सा आ गया तो नहीं चलेगा ना, तो फिर it doesn't last long. But in this my whole journey as well, I got very good friends, because all of my school friends is not the part of the world that I am right now, because none of them are technical. From a school friend, none of them are technical. None of them are in IT. I'm the only one, but in this whole journey, in community journey, or let's say, we met in so many events or a conference, got a very good friends, and they always give you feedback, right? You always do crazy things whenever we meet. You know that, right? In many events that we met, any submit made, we need conference that you go. Some people might be ready. But you mentioned one point which struck me high, that now what the blog that you wrote in the first instance, if you go back now and they say, okay, now you can also refer that, because when I gave my first international conference back in 2018 on New Zealand, right? So I was not very much happy with what I delivered, because I got 30 minutes to deliver the talk, and then I got at end moment they said you have 15 minutes only. My first international conference, how can I finish 30 minutes talk in 15 minutes? Still I did that, and I told the organizer that, hey, I'm not satisfied. He told me one thing, whenever you go back home, this talk will be uploaded on YouTube. Still there on the YouTube. Go check your, check the complete video and see what are the things that you can improve, because that is the best practice. Till now, I consider that is my most horrible talk that I given, but I improved a lot if I compare now, right? Because now I have something to compare what I did. If I didn't had to compare, how can I improve? So you always have to
Yeah.
compare what you did and take the
Yeah.
reference that didn't work or something that you can improve, right? And
Yeah.
one of the part which I am really bad, I'm sure most of the people, to writing the, I'm couple of my friends, they author, they wrote couple of good books, right? In the technology only. But writing a book, because अगर मैं पढ़ने भी जाऊँ तो I don't like to read a lot, like I'm not reading myself. And the both of our jobs to write it, right? And writing in the sense consistent writing. You writing you are author on the medium from a longest time, and you also have your own personal blog as well, where you constantly write, right? So what motivates you to write that constantly, and how that also help? Because what I've seen, one of my blog posts which I wrote on the Google Cloud, which is with Kubernetes cluster, how to set up that got featured. I just wrote it in the just okay, just write it down. That helped me, and I can take a reference anytime I want. That got featured by Google Cloud. I didn't know, but after that, I never wrote any blog post because I don't know. I'm still not able to crack that how I can be a consistent. But yeah, I want to know from you how to be a consistent. What motivates you to write it? Now, how that someone strike the opportunity as well, because you never know, right?
Yeah. So writing is something like it's how do I explain it? But writing, I don't have any motivation. Like I don't wake up every morning and see like, okay, I'll write a really great blog post today. It doesn't happen. Initially, like it's a kind of an uncomfortable situation where you wake up, you see a blank page, and you feel like, no, I won't do it today. Just let's watch some Instagram reel and TikTok reel, and then I will watch it. And then you see there is an hour and two pass by, and you haven't wrote anything yet. So if you are thinking of writing, I would suggest that don't count on motivation or something like that. Just focus on discipline and consistency. That, like, you don't have to write like a great blog post every day. Just write something every day, and then when you get into that shape or form, you will, like, your memory muscles start to build in that way. Then you start to think everything you can write it, and then everything, there are stages to be writing. First, you just dump whatever is in your head into a paper, and then you start to have editing, and then you start to have a review process, and then you started to have a feedback. So just like I don't have any motivation, the best motivation to do anything is just that you need to pay your bills. So that is the biggest motivation I have, and that's keep me going again. And there is also other thing which I personally have is trying to build something of my own. Like ऐसा है ना, like job है वो है सब कर लेंगे, that is there, but like whatever time you are staying in this universe, what is the thing you have created? So that is something constantly going in my mind. So that's where the writing part comes, that okay, if something goes on the internet, it will stay there for a long period of time. So like if like it's something I have built there, and anyone can and search through it. So yeah, writing is basically consistency. It's nothing less or more. And now we have tools like fixing grammars and like editing stuff and all that stuff. It's become way more easy compared to earlier. But only thing you need is that you have to write consistently, day in, day out. So that is the only thing.
You have ChatGPT as well.
Yeah.
You can just post it and put it everywhere. But when you write a blog post, and when you saw that after maybe after years or couple of years that you got millions of views on on your medium, is that overwhelming at that time? Because I say, like, when you don't have expectation and you get some result, it's amazing.
Yeah.
And when you have an expectation and you don't get it, you feel demotivated.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Has ever with you?
Yeah. So obviously, like I didn't had like any views or something like that. So like anything, like even 10 or 5 view were like way better than zero. So like I started. So initial 2-3 blogs didn't do anything. Like it doesn't have any views or something like that. But when so maybe the right time at the right place. Flutter was growing at that time. It was about to go into a stable version, and I wrote the same thing at the same time. So people were started searching that same thing, and I was the one who wrote it first. So basically, that gave me an advantage of getting more views. So I like, apart from like the blog post. So the blog post take a really long time to get like the attention. But the biggest thing was shocker for me was when I published my first open source library for Android, which is basically a photo editor library. And when I published it, like since I already did that with like a startup project which I use for interviews, so it didn't get that much attention. I thought this would also not get that much attention. I just put it out there, and that was something from the first day itself. It got a lot of attention, that people are using it, downloading it, and people starting it. And I got panic because I started to get a lot of issues on that GitHub project. So I asked my coworker that, dude, I just published this, but now people are complaining a lot that this is the issue here, this is the issue here, and then how would I resolve it? So he said that this is a really good sign that people are using your library, because without using it, they won't know the issue. So this is a good thing that you build something that people want to use it. And at that time realize, okay, this is something now people getting attention, and they are using it. This is an issue they are facing. And that's where I started to get involved in the open source community, where how do you manage all those things, and what kind of things you can automate, and how do you ask for a PR, how do you raise a PR, how do you merge it, and all those kind of stuff. So,
and ask a question, right? Because asking a question, that's important.
Yeah.
You also
Yeah.
presented this in DroidCon Berlin as well, right? You presented this.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
So
this led me to that talk. So I submitted like the proposal for DroidCon Berlin. You need to send something proposal. This was my 4 years learning. I usually do what I learn for around a year or two and try to put it somewhere. So it can be a video thing, or it can be a blog post. That's where that enhancing open source blog came, and this is one of the things which is I learned from an open source project for 4 years. So that was there.
So, presenting in the conference also, it totally different things which you write in the blog post, right? Writing is a different and public speaking, because when you go and show your project, right, there are a lot of things, because you have some people also to ask a question, right? Because you don't know the audience, right? So would you like to share any of the experience that you, or any feedback that you got for your the library that you published? Because you, I think, show that how to build that, right? If I'm not wrong.
No, it was not building part. It was not a building part. It's more of a learning things. What I assumed it was and what it turned out to be. So that was the whole thing. Even I didn't build that library from scratch. I did the inspiration from someone else, and then I added like I made it like 5x better. So what was it was there. I just like made it 5x better, and people like liked it very much. And I share that whole thing, what I have learned in that 4 years in that talk.
Right. I think you just explained the phenomenal of the open source, that you took the inspiration from the project and you build it better, right? You just put it in scale that, and this is nothing but the open source, right? This is the open. So when you describe your experience, right? Because describing your experience also is very important. That is that actually your story is conveying or not to the users, right? The people are listening. So what are the things that help you to prepare yourself before you went for the presentation?
So funny thing is that the DroidCon Berlin talk was remotely, so it was not in person. So I was not there. Yeah, so it was my half dream come true. My dream was to have to speak in an international conferences. So I got a chance to speak, but I was not there. So my half dream was there, but the other half was not there. But
Okay.
before even that DroidCon Berlin, even though before that I also speak to few conferences there, and like this is totally a different thing than compared to writing and speaking. So one of the thing I like about writing is that in writing you don't have a deadline. So in speaking you have a deadline. So like you have to complete everything by the defined date. And if you fail to do so, then there would be a lot of problem. And the second thing I like about writing is that you can edit it anytime. Like if you made a mistake, you just go to that blog post and you just edit it. Like, and in speaking you can't do that. Once एक बार मुंह से जो छूट गया वो
Yeah.
वापस नहीं आएगा. So like it was like, and but like the the best part of speaking is that the interaction you have with your audience. Like people are like, in writing you can't see who's reading your blog post or who's reading and how much concentrate they are, and like what are the, like you can't read the visual expression on their face. But when you are in a conference, that feedback is really great. Like okay, you can directly understand, okay, I said this thing, it resonated with people, I said this thing, didn't get through the audience. So that is something I really like in speaking in the conferences. And like I really like in our school we used to have Saturday activities where you have all the extra curriculum thing where you do like go and do a speeches, there would be a debate, basically everything where you have to stand up in the front of public. And I used to bunk those classes, and if I'm not able to bunk those classes, I used to hide under my friend's back so that people don't call me in a front of stage to talk about something. So to get off that fear was very difficult. Now you have to go to the stage and you have to talk to the people. So yeah, that is something I failed a lot of challenges initially, but then just doing same thing consistently over and over again, I just like made it through.
Yes, because I think speaking in public, because you know that every time when you go to public, you'll be addressing different people, different mindset, different age group as well. And if you just go in the same way, for example, the session that you deliver in the, let's say in a DroidCon, and let's say you go into local meetup, if you deliver in the same manner, no, that might not work because your audience is different. You need to deliver, or let's set a different examples to explain the same terminology you explain over there. Because and interacting with the people in a person, that also help you to know your audience more better, and it will become better and better day by the more you try to interact with people, right? Initially what I should do, apne ko to pata, like when I was new speaker, I like people don't come to me, so I always go to the people or attendee who attended my session. How do you like my talk? Is there any feedback? Is there always try to talk that, and that way I'll try to get a more feedback. So don't wait for the feedback, you just go and also gather the feedback from your end. Have you did that as was
initially I also had the same thing. I just gave a talk, and I thought people would come to me and then ask me question and all that thing. But I realized that as I was afraid to the speaking at the front of people were also afraid to ask me questions. So I thought, let's just break that ice, and I just go there and just so that, as you said, no, there are different people who work differently. So if you are in an international community or outside the India community, you have to be very straightforward. That whatever you are saying, you are to the point. They don't need any fluff. And India is just opposite. You have to start with like a good story, or you have to start with a joke, or like you have to ask about some movies or random stuff, and then they will start to mingle. So that is a whole different thing. So yeah.
खाना खाया ऐसा कहाँ घूमे कल कहाँ घूमे
So that how it started.
I remember this conversation because one of my friends was working for big MNC in Ahmedabad, and they got some people from their headquarters in US. They came into India, and one of his colleagues was asking that that guy is how did you like Ahmedabad? Is it hot in Ahmedabad? So this is how it started, and that other fellow, is a local, he got frustrated that you should not ask these questions to them, because you should be very straightforward and to the point. They don't care about, and here is total different. कि भाई कल किधर किधर घूमे, where did you roam around and everything. So it's totally different. But yeah, this way can be helped. And you mentioned about difference between to writing and creating the video or tutorials. You already created I think 17 episodes of Flutter, right?
Yeah.
I would say you mentioned if we did any mistake in any blog post, you can go edit and correct it anytime. And that didn't take that much time. But creating the video tutorials, because it's just not recording the stuff, you also going to edit that, right? And that required a hell of a time, hell of a space where you're going to put that, right? Because I so many times happened that my laptop got out of space and I didn't work at all, right? So I think, like, what do you find the most, I would not say easy word, because it's clearly say that, and which is difficult part, but which is attract more, or is it the both as per the audience choice?
Like, do you want to you're asking what is the hardest part in video creation, or like
which is the good part which help people to more inclined towards your content, whether it's writing or like video editing or like video tutorials, or is it like based on the audience preferences, right?
So usually it's based on audience preference, but majority of the people nowadays watch videos a lot. But after creating that 17 video, I want to hats off all the YouTubers who are creating videos day in and day out, because it takes a hell lot of time to create something and edit it and then publish it and do this on a regular basis compared to writing. So when I created that 17 episodes on YouTube, I realized one thing, that this is like way more difficult for me to do than compared to writing. So as of now, I choose writing over speaking always, because that's easily fell in my schedule, writing, compared to like doing video. So that 17 episodes took me a year to just complete all those things. So yeah, like, I mean, when you have a family, when you have a kid and all those things, so it's very hard time to take out and do those editing and all the stuff. So, and in that one year of time, 1 month, I took 1 month to just convince myself that I have to record my face in front of the camera. So it took me around 1 month to convince myself that, okay, it's fine, you can record your face on the camera and then you can publish it. So that was the challenging time on video creation. So I always prefer writing, and it's way more easy for me to do that compared to video. But yeah, like the attention and the things you can get from videos is a lot compared to writing. Writing is a very slow process, and you get output very slow compared to the video thing.
Okay, but my key takeaway from this is that you should do which help you to become more consistent rather than occupying your things a lot, because I think that compensate not very good way. If you're consistent more and writing this one which takes less time, you should go with that way. Because the reason why I asked this question, for example, let's say if you have started creating tutorials, there's someone who watching, or let's say equally enthusiastic, wanted to be in that zone, they also started doing that, but ultimately after creating one or two they stop, or maybe writing one or two blog posts. So best is do something which can fit to your time, right? Which can make you more consistent. Talking about time, see, you already part of a Flutter community and do a lot of amazing stuff. You are a full-time working, you also do consulting work, you also writing blog posts or tutorials, you also recording the stuff you do over here. So people are struggling a lot about, and they have complained they don't have a time, right? When people ask that I don't have a time, I always say, if you don't have a time, don't contribute, because if you're passionate about something, you should look at the time, you ultimately manage somehow, right?
You
try to balance it out in your ways. Maybe the night working, or maybe a weekend working, or maybe try
Yeah.
to finish some tasks earlier than it should be way
Mm.
before, like that. So
Yeah.
how do you balance? Because ultimately you fill in everything that anyone in the community right now can look up or it can relate. So how do you
Mm.
balance your life by giving your time or contributions to each of the zone?
Yeah. So time, like I have an obsession with time because I just want to save time, use time, and rent time and anything related to time. I just want to do it. It's just my obsession. So I'm like, I try to there is a productivity thing, right, going on, that you have to be productive, you have to schedule and all those things. So I'm really into that thing. So coming back to the question, so first thing, like it depends on what stage you are in your life. So like if you are in your initial 20s or like 30s something, 2025, then you have a lot of time to work on things. So I used to complain when I was in a college. I used to complain that, see, I don't have a time. I have to wake up in the morning, I have to go to college, so my full day is gone there, and now I don't have any time to work with. And then I got my first job, and then when I got my first job, I thought, Arey yaar, there was a lot of time in my college. I have to wake up in the morning, and then I have to go to the office, then I have to manage the household work and all those things. I used to have a lot of time. I have to Saturday, Sunday to wahan pe chutti tha and all. But my first job didn't have that thing. So I thought, yaar, us time pe bahut time tha, abhi to bilkul bhi time nahi hai. And then I got married. Okay. And then when I got married, I realized that I had a lot of time when I was working, but now I don't have any time. So I like, now I have to work. I have a family. I have to get like manage all something. I don't have any time for that. It definitely, I used to be have that time, but I don't have now. And then I had my first kid, and then I realized that I used to have a lot of time when I was married, but now I don't have any time. I don't even have time to sleep. So basically, it's depend on what stage you are. So if you are in 20s, you have a lot of time, and you don't have much responsibility. So you can spend that time to explore stuff, as you mentioned, right? That there are something which you are very good at, and there's something which you are not, and there are something which fits in your schedule, and there are something which doesn't. And to understand what fits in your schedule and what doesn't, you have to try a lot of things. And when you try a lot of things, you understand that this is something I like and this is something I don't. And in order to try a lot of things, you need to have that time, and that is the time when you have in your 20s and 30s. And then when you started to have more people in your life, then you have to prioritize things, that you can't do everything. You have to do something, specifically one thing at a time. So basically, like time management come to three things. Basically, first, prioritizing what is the important thing, then scheduling when you will do, and then third is execute. So when you do these three things, you basically can execute. You can do any time management technique. Basically falls into these three categories. And if you can do that, then like it would be very easy to manage time. And when someone asks me advice on what is the best, like give me some productivity tips, so I say jokingly that get married and have kid, because you will have so less time that you will only prioritize the important stuff. So that's why how you will get things done. So yeah.
Yeah, so rightly pointed. Yeah, because I can relate, but since I'm not reached to that stage right now,
Yeah.
but
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, like what are the response that you have right now and prioritizing that. And just I'm so inclined towards the example that you give, that if you don't have a time, try to get married, have a kid. Now you're going to work on the most important things, because right now
Okay.
I've seen most of you struggling to, what are the, let's say when you go into work, you have a 10 tasks. So I have
Yeah.
always have this care, like what task should I pick up, like and in that some important should left. So my manager told me
Yeah.
once, when you go into it, think about, let's say you have your 4 tasks, which is important right now to attend. Just pick up
Yeah.
that first, and then go
Yeah.
for further. What is important to do right now at this moment, do it, not the later
Yeah.
one, right now. And then it may help you to prioritize work and everything. But yeah, like I would always say, like, if you have a passion about do something, do you really want to work, you manage somehow time way. So now you have a kid and you are, having the complete where you have to give a time to family as well. So how now you still, able to manage the time, or let's say you now you that a little gap, like let's say then in the past you let's frequently post or let's write or let's say creating the tutorials like 6 months or let's say 3 months. Now what is the current scenario right now?
So basically, right now is like I don't try to do everything all at once. So I have like a month to write something, and then there's a month for speaking thing, and then there will be a month of doing nothing. So that's how I usually like do it. And one thing I realize about time management is that when you like, if I'm not sure if you have read the book called Deep Work, basically, which basically mentions that the average human focus time is around 4 to 5 hours. So in a day, you can focusly work average to 4 to 5 hours. So I try to figure out that 4 to 5 optimal hours in my day. And if I'm able to just work 3 to 4 hours with full focus, that will give me a really good output compared to just scattering my hours in a day. Like आज like ये करते हैं, कल वो करते हैं, ये करते हैं, वो करते हैं. So if I just do different things at a different time, then it doesn't get done easily compared to just focusing on one thing at a time. So right now my only thing is that just get your 2 to 3 hours of work done without any mobile distraction, without watching any YouTube videos or anything. Just focus on 2 to 3 hours per day on any single task, and then you will able to achieve what you are looking for.
No, rightly said. So last question that I want to ask is, right now you are very much active in the Flutter community, right? So what is your future goals or upcoming things which can happening in the community right now, which people might don't know, the people who are are already working in Flutter or wanted to explore in this career path, right? So what is happening right now? This is the first mid question, and second is, if anyone wants to get started with the Flutter, what is the best way to do it?
I mean, the best way to start get with Flutter, I think Flutter has a really good documentation. So basically, if you search how to get started with Flutter, it will give you step by step anything you want to do, like to build apps in Flutter, building from list, layout, and everything. So that is a really good starting point. And then there are community groups, Slack groups. Every information is there on the Flutter.dev channel itself, where you can find the communities and all the Twitter handler and all the stuff. So basically, you have to get connect and ask question and all those things. And coming back, what I just missed your first question. What was the first question?
That what are happening in the Flutter right now? What are the new things are coming out? What is happening in the community? Is there any event is coming out? Any conference that is coming out? What?
Yeah. So last conference happened was Flutter Forward, which basically was about going forward with the web platform support and many other improvement in terms of performance. Like they now moving from Skier to Impeller, which is a rendering engine in Flutter. Earlier, there were used to have a lot of animation issues with iOS. And there was a lot of complaint, and that was the biggest blocker for people from using Flutter because it was having some animation issues. So now it has been fixed, and they're trying to improve the same thing in Android as well. So that is the one biggest thing happened. And currently, like, there would be a Dev Fest coming in upcoming months. So that is something where all the Flutter talks and all from the global team perspective, Flutter event, I don't have any much idea about any new event coming up, but Dev Fest is something that where all the Flutter talks and everything would work there.
Okay, and where they can find all this information? Any website to refer?
Yeah, so I think there is a GDG Dev Fest. You have to search, and then there will be a website where all listing will be coming up. Where is this event happening in which city? So maybe you have to look for the nearby city where you are having it's having, or it might be happening in the city you are living in. And this is where you can get involvement into community. You can connect with those people, understand not just Flutter, but there are all the Google related technologies are there, like Angular, Android, and other web technologies, Google Cloud and Firebase and TensorFlow, everything. So it's a good way to start there, to get
Yes, yes.
involvement in the community.
Yeah, I'll put all those links into the description. Also, if you are looking for the full-fledged course, so I'm going to put your complete series also in the description that people are going to check out that and get started that, right? My last question is, what is open source means to you?
So open source is basically like giving back to the community, and then it will, by giving back to the community, it will eventually help yourself to understand how the community in general works, and it will also give you a good recognition in the community, and it will help you to create your own brand in itself. So first thing is that what you learn and you give back to the community without any expectation, like every other community works that way only. And then like you will start to have that things which you give back to community will eventually come to you, but the time is not fixed, so you have to be patient, and
Yes.
things will take time.
Yes, and I would, in this process, when you've been part of this community journey, or maybe your learning journey, or any of that being part from students to become a professional, or your professional journey, all these things, management, patience, this all you learn by yourself only. Because when
Yeah,
you be a part of the process, you're gonna learn that automatically. Just you have to be relatable and just think that okay, it's happening, but you are going to do that somehow, right? Or maybe
yeah,
let's say somehow you're going to crack that maybe by yourself, or maybe you can consult any of the people who are nearby to you, maybe a community member, because
yeah,
they're the best people to answer, because I always go to them, ask a question. And yes, ask a
yeah,
question is very much important, and ask a right
yeah,
question as well. Most important.
yeah,
So
yeah,
feel free to ask a question in the group. If you hesitate, just ping them on LinkedIn, right? And
yeah,
thank you, Rashid, I had a great time. I know that there are a lot of things I really wanted to ask you, but maybe I would like to have another podcast with you to go more
uh,
inside, because what I've seen being part of this open source, or let's say community journey, we have a lot of story as well. Some stories we hear, like we heard today, there are most stories
mm,
that which help us to remember ourselves, because let's say whenever we meet in person, in that during of
yeah,
time that might come happen, new thing, new story happened, some things that
yeah,
happened which didn't went well, that's also become a story for us. So for that story
yeah.
also we are going to connect very soon, and thanks for I hope you had a fun, right?
Yeah, yeah, definitely. Like it's been a really long time, and like talking everything in person, because most of the time whatever I have done online was pre-recorded, and everything was like, I know what I have to say, I have to deliver and all those things. So this is like more of a conversation with another person, and it was a really good experience. And just
Maybe
to
I'll
add,
see you.
apart from
Yes.
yeah, just to add, apart from that, YouTube courses, I'm also currently running live classes for Flutter. So if anyone is interested into uh, level up their self in a Flutter development, like they are already have started, but they want to advance their career in terms of learning Flutter and all those things. So I have started Flutter classes, live Flutter classes, where I'll teach online how to build advanced level Flutter apps, or basically a app which you can be used in a day-to-day job. So
Okay.
yeah, so the website is like sorry.
What is the platform where you host this live session?
So like it's on like Google Meet or Zoom, but if you want to check more detail, you can check effectiveflutterdev.com. So where I have defined all the syllabus and curriculum and all those things. So you can check that out, and if you
Yeah,
can have
I'll
any
put
query,
that.
then you can reach me out.
Sure,
Yeah,
sure. I'll put all the details gathering from you and put it all the details over here, so that
yeah,
everyone should get everything as a one single place. So don't forget, to
yeah,
join his live class as well. It is super amazing, and the best way to get your question answered, and I would say in a very simple manner, so that anyone can, who doesn't have that background, they can also relate and understand, right? So yeah,
yeah.
thank you so much, Rashid, for again, for because this was very quick podcast schedule, and you made it. So thank you so much for that. I hope and everyone is going to enjoy for sure. I'm going to gather all the details which get get help people, right? All the reference over here, and hopefully I'll see you in any of the dev fest nearby, where this time rather than online, people can see you in person. There's gonna be more interaction. It's gonna be a more. So yes, thank you so much for everyone who watching this one. Don't forget to follow uh, uh, Rashid. I'm putting all the social media links in the comment, right? And don't forget to follow us so that you won't miss any of the next content. We are going to come up with a more such episode. So don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, and stay safe and take care.